Hey guys, welcome back to Loan Officer Life, Hustle, Heart, and Home Ownership. Super excited to have Geoff Zimpfer on. Geoff, I think we may have done one of these together under my former brand, FinTech Fridays, but welcome back.
Right. Yeah, it's good to be back. Thank you for having me. Always love connecting with you. We could just, chat for hours about all kinds of topics. So pleased to be here.
Yeah, this will be fun. I should have recorded our first 10 minutes before we went live here because we covered a lot of good ground.
Yeah.
So Geoff, Loan Officer Life, this is just what it sounds like. We are focused on helping all loan officers just understand what's out there. What are things that are working in this loan officer space that they should be aware of and maybe consider putting into their business. And you and I have teamed up. We did a joint webinar where you taught a group of loan officers how to leverage the FinLocker technology in the context of training realtors. I don't want to really talk about that webinar as much as I want to talk about the concept of what you do every day, which is you train loan officers how to go out and teach classes to realtors to add value. And I see you all over the place on social, and I'm still amazed when I run into people that say, "No, I never heard of that. I never knew what was going on with that." So hopefully, with Loan Officer Life, we make a few more people aware of the great things you're doing and just this concept of train the trainer type of approach. So
yeah,
that's kind of what I want to riff on here for the next 20-25 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, so let's set the stage, the premise of what the situation is, the current markets, what's going on out there now. This varies a little bit based on market where you're at, but generally overall, right, we're in this kind of transaction recession. I've been calling it. And so there's a lot of things going on. But here's the one thing that is always interesting to me is it's all about like what you focus on, right? Like if you ever heard that old example of like you can have two people who go to a party and you ask the two different people, how was the party? And you get, one person who was like, oh, the food was bad, the this, the that, I had to wait forever, right? And the other person was like, oh, it was amazing, great time, right? And I think that's a little bit of a report back from like, well, what you focus on is what you get. And so we need to be careful about what we focus on in the narrative we tell ourselves. Like first and foremost, I want to say that because there's a lot of narratives that people can develop in their head, which may not be accurate. So I'd like to look at things for like, how are they really, like what's really happening, the truth. So yeah, we got some headwinds, we got some challenges in the market, and we have tons of opportunity in the market too. So what are you focused on? Where are you focused? There's so many directions I could go here, but I was talking to one of our mutual colleagues and friends, Travis Newton, last week, who was inside our private member group, and he was sharing that he's closing 18 loans for the month of June.
Yeah. So he's the guy that says this party was the best party I've ever been to.
Yeah. He's the guy who's like engaged in the party. He's going around networking and shaking hands and he's walking out with deals, right? And then you have someone else, as you know, who may get on a call with me or something. They're like, yeah, man, just realtors suck. And the whole narrative of like everything's difficult. And it's like, you got to choose your hard. Everything's hard. Travis is working hard. There's lots of other people working hard. So what I like to focus on is like, I'm all about leverage. Like, I'll go back to my story because maybe somebody can relate, which is like when I got started in the business, right? I had come off the road working for Tony Robbins for a period of time. And I started new and I started like doing what everybody else was doing because I thought that was the way to succeed. So I was doing the usual stuff, cold calling, chasing, door knocking, like, pursuing realtors like crazy. And the truth is it works, right? Like those activities work, but they don't work systematically, and it's not a true system. And so if you start thinking about what does a business have in place, go back to this. One of my favorite books is The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, and that whole thing. And one of the things he got very clear on in that book is that every business that succeeds has a clearly defined process for lead generation and lead conversion. And I look at realtors as a source of leads, right? Obviously. But what most originators struggle with when it comes to realtors is their approach. Their generation process of those leads is usually fragmented, diluted, and up and down like a roller coaster ride because they don't actually have a system other than some of the heavy lifting stuff we talked about, like cold calling, chasing, all that kind of stuff. So for me, what I did back, in 2000, I don't know, 5 or 6, after 18 months in this business and struggling, I realized it was the law of large numbers game. And this whole idea that we talk about now, which is like one to many, that is, I think, if there's an unlock when it comes to scaling realtor referrals, it's one to many instead of one to one. And that kind of dovetails back into what you talked about, is leading with education in classes that attracts versus chases.
Yeah. And I love every time you say attract versus chase, it's like such a visual for me, right? And I just came off of 2 conferences back to back. One was a group of originators down in Florida, and what struck me is, and I spoke at one of the sessions. A mutual friend of ours, Scott Hudspeth, joined me on stage, and then a top originator in Central Florida. And so we had a great discussion, much like you and I are doing. They shared some things that they see, Scott sees working, Zach is doing. And then probably, 3 sessions later, and by the way, what we talked about was a lot of digital, a lot of modern, but if you want to peel back the onion, it's back to the future. It's like a lot of the old school stuff, like, even a flavor of BNI, right? That leverages digital so that you can scale one to many versus one to one. And what struck me was as these experts, myself sort of included, got on stage and talked about the things that are working and we're seeing working. Yes, a lot of technology is driving it, but at its core, it's conversations. It all comes down to how many conversations you're having, however you're having those.
Yeah, and I always like to make it clear. It's like, even though I've chosen to lead with this pillar of real estate agents, there's a conscious reason why. And that's because it's the now business. It's not the 6 months or a year from now business. And I'll tell you, so I just interviewed Tony Robbins. She's known as Not Your Daddy's Lender. She built a business on TikTok over the last 3 years. And in 2024, she closed, I think, as either 18 or 20 million just from TikTok.
Yeah.
Okay. So guys,
social media doesn't work, by the way. It just doesn't work.
And that's the point I'm trying to make. Everything works, air quotes, but not equally well everywhere all the time for everybody. And what needs to work right now? And that's why I think I always battle against, like, look, forget the narrative about the realtors and the difficulties and like everything's hard. I think I said that a second ago, choose your hard, right? And so I think when you have pillars of business, again, the worst number in marketing is 1, because if that one pillar gets disrupted or goes away, you have no business. So the question is, right, how many pillars do you have? And a lesson from Alex Hormozy, who, I know you follow him as well, I believe. He talks about like, do better, do more before you get to do new, right? Yeah. So whatever the thing is that you're doing that's working or is proven to work, do more of that and or do it better. Most originators, though, what they do is they build multiple bridges at the same time. I'm going to do video. I'm going to do social. I'm going to like dabble in realtors. I'm going to like do this and and then they got like 7 bridges that go to nowhere.
Yeah.
And they never make any progress,
So I love what you, I've always thought of the teaching classes as more of a long game, but what you just described to me, and now that I think about it, is I may go teach a class and teach this group of realtors how to do something, whatever that something is.
Yeah.
And that particular something might have a direct correlation down the road to some transactions, some deals, because of them implementing this into their business. But the reality of it is, and this is why what you teach works, the reality of it is after you've taught that class, you've provided such value to that realtor, that group of realtors, that there's this reciprocal obligation in their mind that they need to provide some value back to you. Yeah. And usually what that value is going to be is one or more of the next few people that come into their pipeline, they're going to refer to you. Is that kind of what you refer to as kind of the in the now, the output of getting, seeing some immediate tangible output?
So teaching classes is both a short and long game. So it's a long game because we know it's like laying the foundation for, right, that brand awareness and everything that happens over time with that. And it's a well you can continue to go back from. But it's also a short game because, let's just face it, as a matter of fact, this is what Theoni shared with me about, the TikTok situation, is like her content started out on TikTok she wanted to focus on like forget realtors and go consumer direct. And she realized that actually wasn't helpful for her. So she shifted her content a little bit. And what she realized was, as much as we want people to go to the lender first, in this country, it still isn't happening in mass yet.
Right. Yeah.
And the point is, it's the realtors who have the now business. They've already been building the buyers over their pipeline. So let me share, if I could, a couple of case studies. So I'm looking at some success stories from one of my members, Tiffany Saxton in Texas. So Tiffany teaches a class, one class. And within an hour of the class, she gets 3 loan applications and gets invited by a team lead who is in her class to come teach that class to the team of 20 agents next month.
Right on.
So that's now business. You've accelerated trust, you've reduced resistance, you've drawn people to you, reciprocation, like you said. All those things are happening simultaneously because you've led with value. You didn't ask, you actually poured into them in a unique and different way. And that's psychology. You can't get away from the fact that people are drawn to you when you've done something that's valuable for them.
Oh man, that is golden. So let me ask a question. We'll put Tiffany on the spot because she's not here to defend herself. I don't know Tiffany, but you can bet I'm going to be looking her up on Model Match right when we're done. So how was Tiffany comfortable teaching classes before she met you?
No.
There you go. So let's kind of peel this thing back, because there's a lot of Tiffany's out there.
Yeah.
That I think are hesitant to go do something, whatever that something is, whether it's showing up on video on social, or in your case, teaching these classes. We all have this imposter syndrome. Well, why would anybody want me to teach them? Mm-hmm. So how do you kind of break that part down before you get into the kind of, the crux of what the content is?
Sure. Yeah, it's a process people go through. I mean, you don't just show up one day and be as confident as Tony Robbins on stage, right? And that's not the expectation. We're not trying to create professional speakers. We're trying to create facilitators. And so I like to use the example of the nightly news reporter, right? They're not an expert on the news. They're simply reading the cue cards and reporting like at a 30,000 foot level. And that's kind of how we train loan officers. Is we have this train the trainer program where they watch a video of the class being delivered to them. So that they can see and hear what the class sounds like, the cadence, the questions, and how do you get engagement. So they literally get a video with every class that trains them how to deliver the class. That helps a lot. And then they take the slides and they edit and delete them to their preferences. But, we start small, right? We've had a number of people who had 1 to 3 agents at their first class. Yeah. And that's going to happen. But then you keep going, just like you keep going to the gym because you want to get in shape. And eventually you're getting, 20 agents at a class. And it gets more comfortable when you realize you don't need to be the subject matter expert. You are 2 steps in front of the person in the room because you've now learned the thing. And by the way, Sean Bonosian said this really well. He said, by the sheer fact that the agents are showing up to your class means they're already in your corner. They value education already. Yeah. And so you're attracting the type of people that you want to work with.
I love that.
Yeah.
So how, let's go again, we'll peel back Tiffany. So she delivers this class. She's got 3 immediate leads and she's got this now growing relationship. If we were to back this thing up, when was the first time that she engaged with your training? And how soon can someone engage with you and actually put it into practice? And I'm leading the witness because I'm kind of I'm going to go into the next thing we're working on together.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So it's 30 days. Let's just say you came into my world today, you would go through some onboarding process and things like that. But bottom line is the goal is for you to have a class within the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks max. And it could be in person or virtual. Some people start virtual over Zoom because it's a little easier and, all that kind of stuff. But it's about 30 days. And by the way, I have some people who do exclusively over Zoom and never do it in person. I'm not saying that's my preferred way, but hey, do you. But within 30 days, you should be in front of your first small group of agents and then go from there.
And then part of what you're working on and through this coaching that you do is how to go find the right agents to get in front of. I mean, it's great to have content and great to have a class, but I gotta know how to go find these folks.
Yeah, that's a great point. So when you think about the activities we should be doing as a loan officer, right? We should be calling agents, calling the listing agents we closed a deal on. We should be posting on social media. We should be partnering with affiliates like title and escrow and attorneys. What else? All the activities we should be doing. We don't call realtors because I need a good reason. Well, think about what a class does, right? A class is the tip of the spear that gives you all the reasons, right, attached to a class to do all those things.
Yeah.
So that's why I like it, because it really forces people. And this is kind of how we guide people. It's like, boom, man, it's time to, I used to say this, like, you're running for mayor. And in order to run for mayor, you need a platform. You need to level up your awareness. What are you running on? People need to know what you stand for, all that kind of metaphor stuff. And that's what a class can do, is elevate you above the noise and start to, help people know you exist, and then get them in your ecosystem.
Love that. I want to talk about what we're doing together in a minute here, but I just had a thought on, I'm guessing this happens probably fairly regularly. In fact, I've seen content that's come out of Travis when he's teaching classes. They do a remarkable job of documenting the classes they teach. And then you talk about like epic content that they now have to repurpose and go promote the fact that they're the experts in these areas. Do you see a lot of your members like leverage the work they do, the content they create, and then repurpose that to kind of, snowball and build off of that, or not enough yet?
Not enough, for sure. Right. Yeah. Travis is a great shining star example. And what he said is it creates FOMO. So most of his content is on Instagram. And so he's, documenting his classes, but, before, during, and after, behind the scenes, during the class. And, when there's 20 agents in a class and you've got a short video about it, agents that are following him are like, what the hell? What's that? Like,
why wasn't I there?
Right. And then so it just kind of builds on itself and really builds this amazing momentum. But yeah, missed opportunity for many people when they do that. Once again, think about other people that we follow that have become these influencers, because there's this perception, right, that they're like elevate. It's just perception. That's all. Like, oh, there's 20 people in a room. Oh, Brian's interviewing so-and-so, or I'm interviewing, this person from this. Wow. You know what I mean? All of a sudden your credibility goes up.
Right. Amazing. All right. Let's be a little self-serving here for a minute.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's self-serving. I think
it's self-helping.
It speaks to, first of all, it speaks to the power of what you do, frankly. But we at FinLocker, we've created this financial readiness app, this consumer-facing homeownership readiness app that loan officers can use to reach, engage, educate, and hopefully convert folks who are not yet ready into mortgage-ready consumers, home buyers. We have a feature of the app that allows the agent or the loan officer to partner with agents, so kind of a co-branding, co-partner experience. And I think you and I were doing one of these sessions without the recording on, just kind of brainstorming on different things, and came to the conclusion that, well, I think I came to you and said, man, I need help. I need help showing loan officers how to use this feature, not to sell FinLocker, but to add value to the relationships that they already have.
Right. And
so we riffed for a bit, and you did all the heavy lifting. I'll give you all the credit there, and created a class around how a loan officer can leverage a piece of technology that they have in their tech stack with their partners. And we did the kickoff webinar, I think, this week. By the time this publishes, you'll have had your first or second series of the cohort kind of classes. And I missed the first cohort, but I was watching like the thread of communication, and super excited to watch our clients kind of have these aha moments on how they should be thinking differently about the FinLocker solution, and how even if the realtor never gets a consumer in there, the fact that they're in front of these agents and providing this valuable education content that hopefully helps them find ways to create new leads. That was exciting for me to watch as kind of a product owner over here. And I'm just curious, kind of if this is the first time you've done a class around another product and technology, or is this like your secret ninja skill?
Well, I want to thank you for collaborating on that, because I think it brought a new potential strategy to go to market with companies that invest in various tools and they're looking to get better ROI out of that. I think for most tools out there, there's a way to build content around that in the form of, multiple forms. But obviously, if it's a realtor involved, well, then that should involve some type of a class or strategy or conversation around that. And your tool is obviously well equipped to do that, because it integrates the loan officer and the realtor and the consumer, right, in a really neat way. So I would say it's the first time I've formally done it. I've done it through some of our classes where we feature other apps that open house apps and things like that.
Yeah. Yep.
But it does make sense I think that's part of the challenge. You've probably seen this as well, and I've seen it with other technology out there, is that loan officer gets psyched, they're hyped up, they love it, and then they're like, shit, how do I really get a realtor involved in this? Like, how do I talk about this, right? And you can do it one to one, but I'm just like, look, why not do it 10 to 1, right? Why not do the pitch, so to speak, air quotes, right, in front of the realtor? But the point is you structure it in a way that showcases the value. Here's my big headline: is realtor doesn't give a damn about the technology, the tool, or whatever, unless it actually helps them do their job better.
Yeah.
Sell more homes, get more clients, build their debt, whatever it is, right? So that's the key: is can you position it? And you've heard it as well. It's like, I can't get the realtors on this or that, or they don't care about, the thing, whatever it is that they said. And so that's what we do. We help structure it in a framework that makes it appealing and attractive to the agent, so that they want to then have a conversation with you.
Love it.
That's all it's about, right? Conversations, like we said at the beginning.
That's it. I mean, that's like the the Back to the Future. That'll probably be the headline of this episode. You need more conversations. Even yesterday at this conference I was at, that was like the prevailing theme. Laura Escobar, who's the president of Lennar Mortgage, she's also the current chairperson of the Mortgage Bankers Association of America. She gave a keynote at the Florida Mortgage Bankers. Her company's in Florida, so it was kind of her home state association. And she talked twice in her keynote, which was more of an MBA keynote than a Lennar, about conversations. Like at the Mortgage Bankers Association of America, one of the things they're focused on in 2025 is having more conversations with their members and prospective members. And so it's this prevailing theme where, and conversations is not always, as a formal verbal conversation. It's showing up on platforms, whether it's
an interaction. Real quick on that, it reminds me too, is I've been listening to some folks lately, and back to this whole AI thing. Is in the world of AI, what's going to probably be the one standout that people will crave is communities. And communities is just another way to have conversations, right? So this could be an online community, a group. This could be an offline community, obviously your classes and things like that. But it's going to come back to communities, right? Because, if everything's like, we don't know anymore, right? AI, is this real? Is it video? And people are going to crave that connection and community. And so if you're listening and you're an LO and you're like, listen, lay your cards right now. To whatever degree you can build your own community of consumers and other referral partners, and you can keep them engaged in some fashion, that's really, I think, going to be the one standout we have.
Yeah. I love, before we hit record, we talked about, real being live, doing lives and having real lives versus, you and or I, an avatar of us, like we could we could take this recording, drop it into a couple tools and probably create 4 different podcasts that'll look and sound like you and I talking about something, whatever that is. Could be the NBA finals, could be, the US Open golf.
Right.
Crazy. So I do think there's going to be this gravitation towards, we're almost going to go back to people wanting like real face-to-face, not screen to screen, but like belly to belly, face-to-face, because I want to know I'm dealing with somebody that's real.
Absolutely. And call me old school if you want, but this is a relationship business. So it's all about, my friend Mark Schaefer, who wrote the book Marketing Rebellion, interviewed him a few years ago, and he said the most human brand will win.
Yes. Now you can leverage all the tools
Mhm.
to scale your ability to show up more often, but it is about, being human first. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Well said.
man, this never disappoints. Appreciate you spending some time with me and the audience here.
Yeah.
We'll make sure that all the ways to connect with Geoff are in the show notes for you. Man, thank you so much. Thanks for the partnership on our webinar series. I think that's gonna have some legs
Yeah.
as we kind of take that even further.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. And by the way, if anybody wants to connect right now, hey, podcast, if you don't mind, Mortgage Marketing Radio. Go check
Right
it
on.
out.
The number one podcast in the mortgage industry.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
It's probably I had to think back, but there's a couple people that
Mhm.
have been doing this the longest. You're one of those for sure.
Mm.
Do you know David Licken? Of
Sure.
course, right? Like
Yeah.
he literally he and Dave Savage were probably and I think maybe even yourself were the first that were doing this before they were even
Yeah.
called podcasts. I don't even know
Right.
what they were called back in the day.
I started audio only. That's how, believe it or not, Brian, this is the 9th year of doing
That's
the podcast.
Crazy.
And it's a bit tiresome at times too, but it's a labor of love.
I'm on this episode, I think is 148.
Congrats.
And
Yeah.
it's been, 2.5 years going. So I got a long ways to catch up to you.
I'm just trying to keep it, make it, interesting and creative and useful for people. So
For sure. Well, Geoff, thanks again for joining. All y'all come back next week for the next episode of Loan Officer Life. Until then, keep hustling with heart and let's promote home ownership together. Peace.